Welcome everybody to the ordinary meeting of Council for Wednesday the 19th of May. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and pay respect to their elders and the elders from other communities who may be here today. We also acknowledge all other people who have contributed to the rich diversity of this country. Councillors, would you outstanding please?
I declare that as a councillor of our city, I will undertake on every occasion to carry out my duties in the best interests of the community, and that my conduct shall maintain the standards of our Council Code of Conduct, so that I may faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in the Council by the people of the Melbourne District.
Thank you, councillors. This committee meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Local Government Act of 2020 and the Vanilla Rural City Governance Rules of 2020. The meeting is recorded and streamed on YouTube, and I'd like to just mention to people, I've had a comment from people who have been watching it, and if you flick papers and rattle things on the table, apparently the microphones pick up very clearly and they find it hard to hear. So maybe just be aware that the microphones are very sensitive. Behaviour of meetings is expected to be exemplary, as it always is. If anyone has a conflict of interest, it needs to be noted now. So does anyone have a conflict in the agenda tonight? Do we have any apologies? Bill. Confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. Would someone like to move that? Councillor Davis, Councillor Firth. All those in favour? It's carried. Question time. Do we have any questions? Petitions? Bill. Record of committees. 8.1 Finance Operation Committee. There is a recommendation on page 12 that the report and recommendations of the Finance and Ops Committee meeting held on Wednesday the 12th of May be adopted. I'd like to move that. Councillor Davis, Councillor Hearn. Like to speak, Councillor Davis? No, thank you. Councillor Hearn? No, thank you. Anyone else like to speak? All those in favour? I did, sorry. The recommendation is on page 12. That's on page 11, not page 12, sorry. Alright, so the first one is on the 5th of May, so that is the one that we just okay, better go back and the report on I'd like someone to move the recommendation of the report on the 5th of May to be adopted. Councillor Davis and Councillor Hearn again. I'd like to speak, Councillor Davis. No, Councillor Hearn. All those in favour? 8.2 Planning and Development Committee. The recommendation is on page 15 that the reports and recommendations for the Planning and Development Committee meeting held on Wednesday the 12th of May be adopted. Moved Councillor King, seconded Councillor Hearn. Like to speak, Councillor Hearn.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Hearn.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Would anyone else like to speak? All those in favour? It's carried. 8.3 Assembly of Councillors Advisory and External Committees. There is a list of those attended. The recommendation is on page 17 of the report to be noted. Moved Councillor Hearn, seconded Councillor Generatne. Would you like to speak, Councillor Hearn?
No, thank you.
Councillor Generatne?
No, thank you, Chair.
Would anyone else like to speak on that? All those in favour? It's carried. Item number 9, reports by officers. No. Signing and sealing of documents. 9.2 council plan. 2017 to 21 review. Robert Barber.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Tonight's report presents the half-yearly report on operations in regard to achievements against the council plan and also our report of operations. As can be seen from the report, That half year was severely impacted by COVID, obviously with some of our services shutting and different ways of providing services. Some of the figures are a bit different to what we usually encounter. I will take the time just to highlight a few key achievements during the quarter. A lot of it was actually funded by other levels of government as part of the COVID initiative to help us out during that time. So $335,000 was spread to 24 community projects as part of the Community Infrastructure Grants Program, which was very much needed. We conducted a successful NAIDOC week in 8th and 15th of November as we slowly emerged from COVID restrictions. That was a successful event there to celebrate our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community. We completed a Benalla Art Gallery feasibility study that was undertaken. We also undertook some significant improvements to the Benalla Aquatic Centre with some external funding as well. While the Aquatic Centre was shut for customers, we took the time there to do some key works there. The splash park was constructed and opened during that time, and the Brundle Street Oval sports facility was also completed, and as councils have known, was opened on the weekend by Jacqueline Symes. And we also, in regard to projects, we finished the buildings at the transfer station as well. So there's some of the key highlights. Also in the report is a list of our local government performance indicators, as can be seen in attachment 1. I'll leave them basically as presented. I will highlight a couple of things to councillors tonight, though, just in regard to Aquatic Centre. Obviously, our visitations were right down there due to COVID. That can be seen from the first page in AF7 there, where we've had a decrease in visitors, which obviously increased our costs associated with the Aquatic Centre. We had a good month. Our Senior Environmental Health Officer took the time to undertake some food inspections, so we're right up on the on that. And I will finally mention, just in regard to our planning processes, which is on the last part of that attachment, starting from SP1. As councils would know, in the regular reports that we get, we've had significant increases in the level of planning applications, which we still managed to process in a very speedy manner, with 28 days being the timelines taken to decide planning applications. It's still some 85% of our planning applications are decided within 60 days. So it's a credit to our planning team. Even though we had lots of applications, they still managed to approve them and get them out. So having said that, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to take any questions for the report as presented.
Thank you. Are there any questions from Mr. Barber? Yes, Councillor General.
Thank you, Chair. Looking at page number 25, in your strategic objective 1.2, improve community connectedness and respect for diversity. 1.22, review, update and implement the community access and inclusion plan 2015 to 2017. Were there any reviews to that plan? Because I have looked at that plan, and what is the definition on the inclusion in the plan? It pretty much talks about the accessibility of the town, which is good, which is important. But in terms of diversity and misogyny, or including the feminism and including women in these decision-making processes, sort of things in the council, I haven't seen much in that plan. Were there any revisions coming to that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, actually, yes, there is. It's the revisions were just about, a revised plan was about to be brought to council last year, however it was delayed, and probably maybe a opportune time to concentrate on the inclusion side of that plan, Mr. Chair, where we can, I think the council was right, we have a heavy focus on the access, and maybe some additional information can be included in regard to inclusion.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Barber? Yes, Councillor General.
Page number 26, encourage community members to be healthy, safe and active. 1.32, develop, implement a report on an annual Benalla Rural City Municipal Health and Wellbeing Action Plan. The highlight is Benalla Health and Wellbeing Committee regularly reviews the initiatives. Does that mean we have a plan, or are we developing a plan? Are we developing a plan at the moment? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we haven't got a plan at the moment, but we will have to develop one as part of our council plan. The proposal there is to actually include our municipal health and wellbeing plan in the council plan, and that will include, we'll also have to have an action plan. That group with the Health and Wellbeing Committee, that'll play a vital role in actually putting together that action plan and implementing initiatives and making sure we keep to it. And we do plan to actually, from that, to have an annual report also released in regard to how we're going with implementing those actions from that plan.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Barber? Councillor
Thank you, Chair. 1.35, partner with other agencies to increase the safety and pedestrians, mobility scooter users, scooter users and cyclists in our community. Coordinate a local safety and traffic liaison committee meetings. I just wanted to say we have a plan or a strategy in place, pathways to the future strategy. Is that committee reviewing that strategy and going through that? Because there are lots of safety recommendations in that strategy. Have they reviewed that, or are they going with that plan?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to my knowledge, no, they're not. We don't see that as part of their role. With that plan under review, though, it may be a potential sounding board that we could present that to them for their information. As the councillor said, there is quite a bit of community safety included in that, so that may be an appropriate forum.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, the recommendation is on page 37, the report be noted. Moved, Councillor Firth, seconded Councillor King. I'd like to speak, Councillor Firth.
I would just say that it is, thank you for Councillor Ratney's questions. It's one of those things that we you tend to look and don't quite understand sometimes just how much work goes into all these and stuff to be commended to for actually keeping up with it all, to be perfectly honest. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor King. Would you like to
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
any other councillors like to speak? If not, although Councillor Ratney.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, that's a good report, as Councillor Firth mentioned. There's a lot of work going into the council plan, and I understand 18 months of this period have been COVID and probably things slowed down. But there are a lot of things I see through the plan and reading through. We might have to roll on to the next council plan and some actions. And the engagement process currently going on. There's a lot to learn from this plan. Move on to the next plan with some of the things we haven't achieved. That will be good for our community for the future. It's 2021, 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ratney. Would anyone else like to speak? All those in favour? That is carried. 9.3, Benalla, draft Benalla Rural City Council plastic-wide policy. CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, councillors. The following report was discussed at the meeting on the 14th of April. Since that meeting, it has actually been out for public exhibition from the 15th of April. On page 40, 4 submissions were received and summarised in the tables on page 40 and 41. Following a review of the submissions, it is proposed that no amendments be made to the draft Benalla Rural City Council plastic-wise policy. And I direct the councillors to the recommendation on page 42, but happy to field any questions.
Are there any questions on that? No? And the recommendation is that the Benalla Rural City Council plastic-wise policy be adopted, and 2, that the Benalla Rural City Council plastic-wise policy be reviewed in May 2023. We have a mover for that, Councillor O'Brien and Councillor King. Would you like to speak, Councillor O'Brien?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to say that it's a great initiative to get started with really good being a leader, I think, for the community, the rest of the community. Hopefully we can bring some other entities in town on board to do the same thing. So, well done. Thank you.
Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Just to congratulate the council on the development of this policy and moving towards a more environmental friendly community, and also to acknowledge those who read the policy and provided feedback, and that, council worked with them in that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Councillor General.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I agree with Councillor King to thank the community getting involved, and the congratulations from the community received. There are some good insights and input into the plan as well from the community, which is good. Some are not directly maybe not relevant for the plan, but there are some good inputs that we can use in our environmental plans in the future. And to keep a note on that is good. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? If not, all those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. 9.4, Mayor and Councillors' attendance at committees and civic functions. Does anyone have any amendments to that? Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, on the 27th of April, I did not attend the Audit and Risk Committee, and on the 28th of April, I did not attend the Communication Strategy session, the Benalla Early Years Network meeting, the Council meeting, and the Assembly of Councillors. I was on leave.
Thank you, Councillor King. Councillor General.
Thank you, Chair. On 6th of May, I attended the Munro Avenue Solar Switch On project.
Thank you, Councillor Davis and Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr Chair. 9th of April, DELP training, I did not attend, and 6th of May, the Munro switch on, I was absent of that, and the 12th of May, the development program was absent of that. However, I did attend the dawn service on the 25th and the Happy Step Band on the 27th of April. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Firth.
Yes, on the 6th of May, Runner Avenue Preschool Switch On ceremony. I was not in attendance there. On the 11th of May, the 12th of May, the MAV Cancer Development Program. I was not part of those.
Yes, Councillor
Sorry,
King.
Mr Mayor, I just noticed another one, the MAV Councillors Development Program free seminar on the 12th of May. I was not in attendance.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien.
Yes. Thank you, Mr Chair. On April 25th, I also attended the Anzac Day March, and I also attended the Happy Sad Man movie on 27th of April. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other amendments, the recommendation is to the report to those amendments be adopted. Councillor Davis. Councillor Hearn. Like to speak, Councillor Davis?
No, thank you.
Councillor Hearn?
No, thank you.
Does anyone else like to speak on that? All those in favour? That's carried. 9.5, council action pending. Now, there's one here I'm sure the CEO would like to speak on. After 12, 18 months, 2 years of work.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll reflect on Councillor Firth's comments at the previous meeting, but it's finally arrived, and I have actually seen the bus using Irwin Street bus turnaround now, so it's taken a while, but it's finally got there, so I'm very pleased to actually complete that particular item.
Are
there any questions of the CEO? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Item 10, the council to declare a climate emergency, that petition. Can I have an expected date for that report to be presented to the council?
Thank you. Through the chair, for that particular initiative, and I have communicated this with Peter Holmes, with the decision to actually introduce a new portfolio to the council and a new position of manager of economic development and sustainability. My preference is to wait until that manager has actually been appointed. As councillors are aware, Larissa Montgomery has actually gone from the council as well. So we will be recruiting a new sustainability officer as well. So my recommendation, or my suggestion to the council would be that that comes back before the council once those two key people who are heavily involved in that particular issue are actually onboarded. At this stage, we're hoping to appoint the new manager of economic development and sustainability sometime through June. All going well, they'll be on board early July, mid-July, and then I'll look to actually start the recruitment for the sustainability officer probably mid-June. We'll sort of tie that in with the appointment of the new manager as well. So at this stage, I'm probably looking to bring that back to the council early to mid-August.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on the action pending? If not, the recommendation that the, Councillor Davis.
Look, just a side question on action number 3, notice of motion seeking development of COVID-19 support incentives. Talking about COVID-19, can I just ask the CEO if all our staff have returned to work in our offices, or are some still working from home, please? Sorry to put you.
Thank you. Just through the chair, the majority of staff have actually returned. The quick numbers, I would probably have less than 10 people currently working from home. Still being mindful that social distancing is very much front and centre of staff offices, and we have reconfigured some of the workspaces to actually cater for that as well. Some of those staff may be out of the office for an extended period of time as well, due to actually no space at this present time. We're working our way through that, but it is pleased that the majority of staff have returned to the office.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, action pending. If not, the recommendation is that the report be noted on page 49, moved by Councillor Davis, second Councillor Hearn. Speak, Councillor Davis.
I only briefly to say that I'm glad that we got on top of the transit issue for the northern part of our area. Thank you.
Councillor Hearn.
Just to say that ex-councillor Barb Alexander would be very excited to hear that.
Would anyone else like to speak? If not, all those in favour? That's carried. Agenda item number 10, reports by councillors. Councillor Firth, then Councillor Gamble.
Thank you, through the chair. I'd just like to bring it to the notice of the council with regards to, we had a very productive meeting of the Vanilla Festival Committee, and things are coming along quite nicely there, given that we continually have issues with COVID restrictions and some of the things that may have to change, but I can assure that the community that this year, other than some other disaster happening, the festival will go along bigger and better than ever, but there will be changes because there has to be changes. However, we are going to endeavour to make it as good as we possibly can for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Firth. Councillor Gamble.
Thank you, Chair. From the Community Plan Implementation Steering Committee meeting on 7th of April, which myself and Councillor O'Brien attended, one of the discussion points was about the community vision for 21-25, as per the Local Government Act 2020, whether we wanted to develop a new vision from the scratch, or do we want to build in the existing community plan, what we have for 2016 to 2036. The committee